Well, I have told you that I'm going to talk a little bit more on the descriptive and not explanatory argument. Well, the main point I want to raise is even though the pure observations or in-depth interviews or other things like focus groups, case studies, life histories, for example, or field work doesn't does provide descriptions. And even if explanations exist, those explanations are not reliable ones. That idea. But the richness of information basically we have around when we have those things. And note that in-depth interviews are, for example, even they belong to one person, and they might be rich in terms of information that person has provided, but that's just one person. But you might have multiple persons there, and each of them provide us some different information, and we bring them together, even though the number is not as large as 1,000, 100, but it might still be important. Now 15, even 15, 10, 20 people might provide an important variety when the information is that deep. And even if we want to, we might still want to test them numerically. Those studies might also provide explanations, as you have seen in the case of the companies, for example. The interviews have provided explanations why people are not firing workers. Of course, after we got that explanations, we might still test whether those explanations are reliable in general sense. Well, they might be true for, we might say they might be true for that company, or the company might be, we might also argue the company might be lying in that case. But still, that doesn't change that a potential explanation in maybe some immature form is there still. The two other critiques are subjectivity and reliability. Reliability is actually how much you can trust the data, the information you got. Well, of course, especially when you make in-depth interviews, the person you are talking with might be lying. Although when you collect information from at individual basis as data, people might also lie. Many numerical data collection also is taken directly from the people, not from institutions. And some of the even in-depth interviews or further studies like case studies or field studies, they are done with the cooperation of institutions, the very institutions that also provide you some other type of data. Of course, in order to know that be sure that the reliability exists, you should work on it. I mean, both in case of data and numerical data, as well as qualitative data. The reliability of data should be questioned. And at the beginning, when you collect data, you should basically aim to create your framework in a way so that that reliability is satisfied as much as possible. Of course, I mean, you can never know it 100%. And in case of qualitative research, well, actually, if you take, for example, read a book on, I have done that actually 2 summers before, on a qualitative research. One of the important parts of this type of research is designing the questions and knowing how to ask those questions. Even who will ask the question might be important in getting reliable information. For example, you might say, you don't ask, are you racist, for example. You ask, rather how much racist you think is your neighborhood, for example. So there are ways to get more reliable information from the people. And in qualitative data collection, actually, the assurance of reliability is an important issue people are working on, and you can see literature on it. The second one is subjectivity. Even if data is not reliable, how can we trust the interpretation of it? It might be subjective, and there are also ways to make. The researcher might get from the in-depth interview the parts, the aspects of that interview that is more reliable, more suitable for his or her beliefs or aims, and disregard the information that is not suitable for his or her aims. And in that case, actually, to assure that subjectivity doesn't take place, actually, most of the qualitative research studies, the information gathered from these qualitative research studies, are done by two different researchers that are at least testing whether the information is reliable or not. And again, the same problem also exists in the data science, especially if you make an econometric study. You can easily you can add more variables, take more variables, and actually it might be possible to manipulate data so that it will give you what you want. And there are ways also in the data science to test to cure this possibility. Act against this possibility. For example, robustness tests are done for that. Similar tests, similar methods also exist in the qualitative research also. So I will say this much on the qualitative research. And now I want to talk on the England's article, which is on the actually what she calls dichotomy of human behavior. Dichotomy, she talks there at social science and economics particularly, assumes that people are behaving differently at different spheres. So they are altruistic when they are with their family, while they are not. They are rather selfish when they are in the market. And this different type of mood of character doesn't cross to the other spheres. Somehow when they are in the family, they can get rid of that selfishness, or they can actually behave totally differently. And somehow when they are in the market, they are completely different. This is not. It's not just behavior. The motives change. The feelings they feel for the people around them change. And England asks whether this type of dichotomy can actually exist. It does exist, and she talks many different effects of this dichotomy in social sciences, and also some examples where this dichotomy exists in the studies. And she also talks a little bit on what will happen in different studies when this dichotomy is relaxed. I concentrate on the studies, basically, two specific studies especially, where this dichotomy, the effect of this dichotomy is described, and what will happen when this dichotomy is relaxed. Basically, the market behavior case, when we have selfishness as the main behavior, and inter-family relations, where we have altruism as the major behavior. basically, I mean, in the market case, everyone is acting for their own self-interest, and basically, this make them compete with each other, and that competition is uh, benefiting in general people, in general everyone in the economic system. No, market model is basically kind of the model you all know about. I mean, in mainstream at least, this selfishness actually well played on the case where everyone gets what they deserve from the market. Although the very selfish structure of the market in Marxian economics models, at least actually, also lead to exploitation and basically a case where not anymore everyone gets what they deserve. I mean, or uh, at least maybe the contribution of the production and the return is not necessarily correlated anymore as smoothly as it is in the neoclassical models. But selfishness is still there. I mean, in Marxian models, selfishness is not questioned, basically. Feminist economics actually question this selfishness and basically what will happen when this selfishness is actually uh, removed. But removed in a specific way, actually. It is England's example. Uh, the To the labor market models, you put some altruism in. And altruism is actually people are caring for each other, but they care basically for each other. Basically, for example, if uh, in a, for example, workplace which is still regulated by the market, workers are caring for each other and they support each other when a new worker comes and they train them, they increase their productivity, and this cooperation in general is increasing productivity in economy also. So it can be useful, and they might also, in some cases, for example, if someone is sick, they might protect it, hide that sickness of the person, especially if it's a short run thing. But this altruism might very well be, and that's the back. That might be the back side of it. Uh, Very well be shown more to the people who are traditional workers, who workers are used to see around them, who come from the same similar cultural background. If people from a different background come to work to factory, for example, immigrants or women, in case of women, even if they are uh, uh, coming from a similar family background, basically, the fact that they are working in the factory, inside of the factory at least, they are not the same type of workers they see every day, and the uh, the fact that female and male culture are separated in most societies might also mean that socializing communication between the woman and man might not be that easy. They might not basically feel the similar type of altruism against those people, and that might mean they might not cooperate with the workers who are women or immigrants, basically, and as a result, the productivity of those workers might fall. Uh, the So the altruism in the market, in this case, might very well create because it's a selective type of altruism, not altruism against everyone. It might create a type of discrimination, or basically it might put a barrier for the woman or immigrant, even if they are individually have skills to enter to the factory work. Well, for the family models, first, I mean, family models are not that common, so maybe I should first introduce how selfishness is actually serving in the family. And then I will tell how basically altruism, basically, I'm sorry, how altruism, I should first mention how altruism serves in the family, and then I will discuss what will happen if selfishness enters to the model.